There's a voice inside you, not the anxious one that doubts you, not the filtered one that seeks approval, but the real one, the voice you buried to survive, to fit in, to be accepted. What if your greatest power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how honestly you show up? This is not just about communication. This is about liberation. It's about finding the courage to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. It's about connecting without performing. It's about learning to trust your presence, your story, your soul. In this journey, you won't just learn how to speak, you'll learn how to live as your authentic voice. So take a deep breath, drop the mask, and step into the most powerful version of you, the one who's finally ready to be heard. Welcome to Your Authentic Voice, How to Communicate Confidently and Connect Deeply. Chapter 1. Why Your Voice Matters More Than Ever. In today's hyper-connected world, everyone seems to be speaking, but very few are truly being heard. We scroll through social media feeds filled with noise, opinions, trends, debates, filters, rehearsed speeches, motivational quotes. But how often do we stop and listen to someone who's being real? Someone who isn't trying to impress, outperform, or gain approval, just speak from the soul. That's the world we live in. A world overflowing with words, yet starved for truth. And that's exactly why your authentic voice matters more than ever. Your voice is not just the sound you make when you talk. It's the energy behind your words. It's your truth, your emotion, your essence. When you speak authentically, you remind others that it's okay to be real. You give permission for honesty. You create safety for vulnerability. And in doing so, you don't just communicate, you connect. Think about the last time someone said something that gave you chills. Maybe it wasn't poetic or polished, but it was honest, raw, courageous. That's the power of authenticity. It cuts through the noise and goes straight to the heart. But here's the problem. Most of us have been trained to hide our real voice. From a young age, we're taught to fit in, to sound nice, to say what's expected, to be polite even when we feel pain, to stay silent when our truth might upset someone. Over time, this becomes a habit, a mask, a way of surviving. And slowly, we forget what our real voice even sounds like. We begin to speak from fear, not from freedom. We censor ourselves, overthink, rehearse, and shrink our expression just to feel safe. But in doing that, we disconnect from ourselves and from others. In this audiobook, we're going to break that pattern. We'll explore how to rediscover your voice, the one that existed before the world told you to be quiet. We'll uncover the fears that keep you small. We'll challenge the beliefs that say you're not good enough, not smart enough, not ready. We'll practice how to speak with confidence, presence, and heart. Because the truth is, your voice is needed, now more than ever. In a world desperate for realness, your authenticity is a gift. People are not looking for perfect, they're looking for human. And when you speak from a place of truth, people feel it. They may not remember your exact words, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So, if you've ever felt like your voice doesn't matter, if you've ever stayed quiet when you wanted to speak, if you've ever watered yourself down to fit in, this is your moment to change that. This is the beginning of your return to truth. This is the journey to reclaim your authentic voice, not just to speak louder, but to speak braver, not just to communicate clearly, but to connect deeply. Let's begin. Chapter 2. The Myth of Perfect Communication. Most people think that to speak with confidence, you have to be perfect. Flawless grammar, strong vocabulary, a smooth tone, the right pause, the perfect eye contact. That belief is a trap. a mental cage that silences more voices than it frees. The myth of perfect communication teaches us that we must perform, not express, that we must master the mechanics before we deserve to be heard. It says, "You're not ready yet. You need to fix yourself first." And so we delay. We rehearse. We edit our personality. We try to sound like someone else. But here's the truth. People don't connect with perfect. They connect with real. Think of someone you admire, not because they were the most polished speaker, but because they spoke straight from the heart. Their words weren't memorized. They didn't sound like a textbook or a TED Talk. They sounded human, and that's what made them unforgettable. Perfection creates distance. Authenticity builds connection. Perfect communication may impress people, but it rarely moves them. Real communication, messy, emotional, sometimes awkward, touches people's hearts. It makes them feel. It builds trust. It opens doors. The fear of imperfection is one of the biggest blocks to finding your voice. You don't speak up because you're afraid of saying the wrong thing. You hesitate because you might stutter, ramble, or forget your point. But here's what most people don't realize. Imperfection makes you relatable. When you stumble but keep going, people lean in. When you admit, "I'm nervous, but I want to say this anyway," people respect you. When your voice shakes, it tells the truth louder than perfect words ever could. The most confident people are flawless. They're just comfortable with being seen as they are. They've let go of the need to perform. They've embraced their humanness. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from memorizing scripts, but from trusting that who you are is enough. You don't need to be perfect to speak powerfully. You need to be honest. Your goal isn't to sound like someone else. It's to sound like you, unfiltered, unedited, unafraid. That's when your voice becomes magnetic. So let go of the myth. Stop chasing perfect. Start practicing presence. Speak like you're having a conversation, not giving a performance. Speak like someone who believes they matter, even when they're messy. Because that kind of voice, the real one, is what the world is waiting for. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into understanding what your authentic voice actually is and how you can begin to recognize it beneath all the noise. Are you ready? Chapter 3. What is your authentic voice? Your authentic voice isn't just how you sound, it's how you show up. It's the way your inner truth flows into your words. It's your unique blend of experience, emotion, energy, and expression. It's not something you create, it's something you uncover. Every person is born with an authentic voice. As a child, you spoke freely. You didn't overthink. You said what you felt. You asked boldly. You cried loudly. You laughed without permission. That was your voice. Raw, open, honest. But as you grew older, the world taught you something different. You were told to be quiet, to behave, to not interrupt, to say what's appropriate, to keep it short, to stay in your lane. Slowly, your voice was shaped not by truth, but by rules, expectations, and fear. And without even realizing it, many of us began to trade authenticity for acceptance. We started speaking in ways that made others comfortable, but made us invisible. We learned how to fit in instead of stand out. We spoke not from our hearts, but from habit. And one day, we stopped recognizing the sound of our real selves. So, what does it mean to speak with your authentic voice? It means speaking from your truth, not what's rehearsed, but what's real. It means expressing your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. It means being emotionally present, not detached, not overly polished, not robotic. It means allowing your tone, body, and energy to reflect the full depth of your message. Authentic communication isn't about performance. It's about alignment. When your words match your truth, when your outer expression reflects your inner world. That's when your voice becomes powerful. Here's the thing. Your authentic voice is not something you find overnight. It's a process of unlearning. You have to peel away the layers, fear, doubt, shame, conditioning, to reveal what's underneath. And that takes courage. But it's worth it. Because once you start speaking from your core, everything changes. People listen differently. They lean in, they feel you. And more importantly, you feel more alive. You feel grounded, whole, seen. Speaking authentically doesn't mean you always know exactly what to say. It means you're honest even when you don't. It means saying, I don't know, when that's the truth. It means saying, this matters to me, even if your voice shakes. It means saying no when everyone else says yes. Your authentic voice doesn't need approval. It just needs permission from you. You don't need to sound like anyone else to be powerful. Your story, your rhythm, your truth, they're enough. And when you trust that, when you let that voice lead, you stop trying to perform and start learning how to connect. In the next chapter, we'll explore the psychology behind why authenticity is so magnetic and why people instinctively trust and are drawn to those who speak from the heart. Because when you understand how authenticity works in the mind and heart, you'll never again underestimate the power of being yourself. Chapter 4. The Psychology of Real Connection. Why do some people walk into a room and instantly create trust, while others struggle to be heard, even when they say all the right things? Why do we feel drawn to some voices and disconnected from others, even if the words are similar? The answer lies in something deeper than vocabulary or tone. It lies in authenticity, the invisible energy that tells the brain, this person is real. You can trust them. From a psychological perspective, human beings are wired for connection. Long before language, we relied on emotional cues, tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, to determine whether someone was safe or dangerous, truthful or deceptive. These ancient instincts still guide us today. When someone speaks with authenticity, it creates an emotional resonance. The brain picks up on subtle signals, micro-expressions, voice inflection, emotional congruence, and interprets them as trustworthy. On the other hand, when someone is faking confidence or saying what they don't really believe, the brain detects that too, and trust is broken. Authentic communication activates something called mirror neurons, cells in the brain that respond to emotional states in others. When someone speaks with real feeling, our mirror neurons light up, allowing us to feel what they feel. That's why a heartfelt message can bring tears, chills, or laughter. It bypasses logic and reaches the emotional brain. The key element here is emotional congruence. When your voice, face, gestures, and words are all aligned. If you say, I'm fine, but your tone is tense and your face says otherwise, people sense the disconnect. But when everything you express is in harmony, you create a sense of safety. That's when real connection happens. Connection isn't built on perfect delivery. It's built on shared humanity. People crave relatable, not rehearsed. They're not looking for a performer. They're looking for someone who's present, honest, and unafraid to be real. This is why authenticity matters more than any speaking technique. You could have a powerful voice, a perfect posture, and a persuasive vocabulary. But if it's not grounded in truth, it falls flat. People don't remember what you said as much as they remember how you made them feel. And that feeling comes from your energy, not your words. So how do you create real connection? First, by being present. When you're fully in the moment, not thinking about how you sound or what others think, your presence becomes magnetic. Second, by feeling what you're saying. Don't just say words, mean them. Speak from a place of lived experience, conviction, or emotion. Let people feel your message through you. Third, by listening deeply. Real connection is a two-way street. When you truly listen, without judgment or agenda, people open up. They trust you, and that trust makes your own voice more powerful. Finally, by dropping the mask. The more real you are, the more others feel safe to be real too. And in that space of mutual authenticity, connection becomes effortless. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the emotional roadblock that stops most people from expressing their true voice, the fear of being seen and judged. Because before you can speak confidently, you must first understand what's been holding your voice back. Chapter 5. The fear of being seen and judged. Behind every hesitant voice, every rehearsed answer, every silenced truth, there's a fear. It's not always loud, but it's powerful. It whispers, "What if they don't like me? What if I sound stupid? What if I say the wrong thing?" At the root of all this hesitation lies a single human fear, the fear of being seen and being judged. This fear runs deep. It doesn't just come from one moment. It's shaped over years by criticism, rejection, embarrassment, and unmet expectations. Maybe it started when someone laughed at you in class. Maybe it was a parent who told you to be quiet. Maybe it was the moment you spoke your truth and no one listened. These experiences create a story. It's safer to hide than to be seen. And that story becomes a prison. You may smile, nod, speak politely, even sound confident on the surface, but underneath, you're holding back. You censor yourself. You say what's safe, not what's true. You shrink in meetings. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You go silent when something inside you wants to roar. Why? Because being seen feels risky. Judgment feels unbearable. But let's look deeper. What are we really afraid of? It's not the words people might say. It's what those words represent. We fear that criticism confirms our deepest doubts, that we're not good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. And so we armor up. We protect our image at the cost of our voice. But here's the irony. The more we hide to avoid judgment, the more disconnected we become. And the more disconnected we are, the more anxious and insecure we feel. Real confidence doesn't come from avoiding judgment. It comes from facing it and realizing it doesn't define you. It comes from choosing to speak anyway. It comes from knowing that your worth isn't determined by applause or approval. You were not born to be invisible. Being seen means being vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness. It's courage in motion. It's saying, "Here I am. This is my truth. Take it or leave it." And when you do that, something powerful happens. You free yourself. You reclaim your power. And you give others permission to do the same. Not everyone will understand you. Some people will judge. That's reality. But your voice was never meant for everyone. It was meant for someone. And that someone can't find you if you stay silent. You don't need to be fearless to speak. You just need to be honest. Let the fear be there. But speak anyway. Let the doubt whisper. But tell your truth anyway. Each time you do, the fear loses its grip and your voice gets stronger. In the next chapter, we'll begin to build the foundation of that strength from the inside out. We'll explore how to develop inner confidence that doesn't depend on others, because when you feel steady within, your voice will flow with ease, power, and freedom. Chapter 6. Building Inner Confidence. Before speaking, before your voice can rise, your foundation must be steady. Before you speak with power, you must feel it within. True communication doesn't start with the mouth. It starts with the mind, with your belief in yourself, with your inner confidence. Most people try to build confidence from the outside in. They chase validation, rehearse their delivery, mimic great speakers, memorize scripts. But this only works temporarily, because as soon as the environment changes, if someone frowns, disagrees, interrupts, they shrink back. Why? Because the roots were never planted inside. Inner confidence is different. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being the clearest. It's about knowing that you are worthy of being heard, not because of what you say, but because of who you are. Confidence is built on self-trust, and self-trust grows when you stop abandoning yourself. Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, every time you dim your light to avoid discomfort, every time you choose approval over alignment, you erode that trust. But every time you speak honestly, every time you say, "This is how I feel," every time you take the risk to be seen, you rebuild that trust. So how do you build inner confidence? First, by shifting your focus. Stop trying to perform. Start aiming to connect. When you speak to connect, you stop obsessing over how you sound. You become more curious about how the other person feels. This shift moves you from fear to purpose. Second, build small wins. Confidence isn't a leap, it's a staircase. Start small. Speak up in a meeting. Share an opinion at dinner. Ask a question in public. With each act of expression, your voice grows stronger. You teach your nervous system, it's safe to be me. Third, change your inner dialogue. That voice in your head that says, "You're not good enough," is not truth. It's programming. Begin replacing it with a more supportive one. Try saying, "I'm learning to speak with courage. I don't need to be perfect to be powerful. My voice deserves space." Fourth, breathe. Yes, breathe. Confidence lives in the body. When you're anxious, your breath becomes shallow, your voice tightens, your energy shrinks. But when you breathe deeply, you signal safety to your body. Your voice opens up. Your tone calms. Your presence expands. Lastly, practice compassion. You will make mistakes. You will have awkward moments. That's part of growth. Don't punish yourself. Celebrate the fact that you're showing up at all. Every time you speak with authenticity, even imperfectly, you are doing something bold. Remember, confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to move anyway. And when that choice is made from within, your voice becomes unshakable. In the next chapter, we'll confront one of the greatest enemies of self-expression, the inner critic, that voice in your head that tears you down before you even speak. And we'll learn how to silence it so your authentic voice can rise. Chapter 7. How to silence your inner critic. You sit down to speak, but a voice interrupts. You're not good enough. People won't care what you say. Don't embarrass yourself. That voice isn't coming from the audience. It's coming from inside you. That's your inner critic, and it has silenced more dreams than failure ever has. The inner critic is like an invisible bully living in your mind. It questions your worth, attacks your confidence, and convinces you to play small. It pretends to protect you from judgment, but what it really does is block your authentic voice. Where does this critic come from? It's not random. It's built from past experiences. Maybe someone told you to be quiet. Maybe you were laughed at for speaking your truth. Maybe you tried once and failed. Your brain stored those memories as warnings. Over time, it created a voice to keep you safe. That voice became the critic. But here's the truth. You are not your inner critic. It's just a mental echo, a leftover defense mechanism. It may sound convincing, but it's not accurate, and it doesn't have to be in charge anymore. So how do you silence it? Step 1. Name the critic. When that harsh voice speaks, don't absorb it. Observe it. Give it a name. Call it the doubter, the judge, or even the protector. This creates distance between you and thought. Now you're watching it, not becoming it. Step 2. Question its truth. Every time it says, "You'll mess up," ask, "Is that a fact or a fear?" When it says, "No one will care," ask, "Have I tested that belief?" Most of the time, the critic is not telling the truth. It's just repeating old fears. Step 3. Talk back. Create a new voice inside you, a supportive one. This voice says, "It's okay to be seen. It's safe to be heard. I don't have to be perfect to be powerful." Speak these phrases to yourself daily. Over time, the critic's volume fades and your true voice grows louder. Step 4. Take action despite the critic. The goal is not to eliminate fear. It's to move with it. When you speak up even while feeling doubt, you retrain your brain. You prove to yourself, "I can do hard things." That's where real strength is built, not in silence, but in courageous expression. Step 5. Practice self-compassion. When the critic gets loud, respond with kindness. Say, "I hear you, but I choose to speak anyway." You don't need to fight the critic with force. You overcome it with love. Love for your truth. Love for your growth. Love for your voice. Remember, the inner critic is only as strong as your belief in it. The more you challenge it, the weaker it becomes. The more you express yourself, the more confident you feel. You don't need to wait until the critic disappears. You just need to decide that your voice matters more than your fear. In the next chapter, we'll explore the most misunderstood key to powerful communication, vulnerability, and why letting people see the real you is your greatest strength, not your greatest risk. Chapter 8. The Power of Vulnerability in Speech. Most people believe that power in communication comes from strength, control, and confidence. But the greatest impact you'll ever make with your voice doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from being vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's not oversharing. It's not emotional chaos. Vulnerability is the courage to show the truth of who you are, even when it feels uncomfortable. When you speak with vulnerability, you don't try to impress. You try to connect. You stop hiding behind polished words and start revealing your human self. And that, more than any skill, is what draws people in. Think about the last time someone opened up to you. Maybe they admitted they were scared. Maybe they shared a story of failure. Maybe they simply said, "I don't know what to do." In that moment, you didn't judge them. You felt closer to them. Because when someone dares to be vulnerable, it creates emotional safety. It invites honesty. It invites presence. Now think about yourself. How often do you speak from that place? Not trying to perform, not trying to control the outcome, just being real? Vulnerability is the bridge between hearts. It's the invisible thread that turns a message into a moment. It says, "I'm willing to be seen." And in doing so, it gives others permission to be seen too. But we avoid it. Why? Because vulnerability feels risky. You might get judged. You might be misunderstood. You might not be met with kindness. That's true. But here's what's also true. Without vulnerability, there is no true connection. If you never show people who you really are, they can only connect to your mask. And when they praise that mask, it never feels fulfilling. Because deep down, you know they don't see you. That's why even loud, successful voices can feel lonely. So what does vulnerability in speech look like? It looks like sharing your truth without over-explaining. It looks like saying, "I'm nervous, but I'm here." It looks like telling a story where you struggled, not just where you succeeded. It looks like pausing when emotion rises, instead of pushing through like a robot. It's not about making your whole life a confession. It's about letting people feel your humanity. That's what makes you memorable. That's what makes you powerful. In fact, the most inspiring leaders, speakers, and creators all have one thing in common. They don't hide their heart. They're honest about their fears. They speak about their failures. They own their imperfections. And yet, we admire them more, not less. Why? Because vulnerability is relatable. It reminds us we're not alone. And in a world full of performance, the most magnetic thing you can do is simply be real. In the next chapter, we'll move from the internal to the external, exploring how your body language and emotional presence can dramatically enhance your voice's authenticity and impact. Chapter 9. Body language and emotional presence. Words are only a small part of communication. The rest? It's all in the unspoken. Your gestures, your posture, your eye contact, your facial expressions, your breathing. These elements speak louder than the words leaving your mouth. And when they align with your message, people don't just hear you, they feel you. Authentic communication isn't just verbal, it's embodied. Your body reflects your truth before your words ever arrive. If your mouth says one thing but your posture says something else, people will trust your body. Always. That's why emotional presence is so powerful. Presence is the invisible energy you carry when you're truly in the moment. It's the full attention, emotion, and aliveness behind your words. You felt it before. In a conversation where someone looked at you, really looked, and made you feel like the only person in the world. That was presence. So how can you cultivate body language and presence that support your authentic voice? First, start with alignment. Stand or sit tall. Not stiff, but grounded. Let your chest open, your shoulders relax, your feet connect to the ground. This sends a message to your nervous system. I'm safe. I'm here. I belong. When your body feels secure, your voice becomes steady. Your breathing deepens. Your tone settles. And your words carry confidence. Not forced, but natural. Second, use your hands and gestures intentionally. Don't freeze or fidget. Let your hands move as an extension of your message. When your gestures are natural, they reinforce your emotion. When they're forced or stiff, people feel the disconnect. Third, make eye contact. Not to dominate, but to connect. When you look into someone's eyes, even for a few seconds, you invite trust. But remember, it's not about staring. It's about presence. Be with the person. See them. Let yourself be seen. Fourth, express through your face. Let your eyebrows move. Let your smile rise. Let your emotions show. A flat face sends a flat message. A responsive face draws people in. Fifth, pay attention to tone and pace. Your tone should match your message. Calm when it's serious, light when it's joyful, strong when it's passionate. Your pace should allow space for meaning to land. Don't rush to finish. Speak like you're guiding someone through an emotional journey. Most importantly, practice stillness. Not stiffness, stillness. The ability to pause, breathe, and be quiet for a moment. That stillness creates power. It makes people lean in. It signals confidence without a word. Remember, people don't just listen to what you say. They absorb who you are. Your body is your amplifier. Your energy is your message. When your body, voice, and emotions are in sync, your words become unforgettable. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into expression. Not just how you sound, but how to speak to express, not to impress. Because when your intention is expression, not performance, you unlock the full power of your authentic voice. Chapter 10. Speaking to express, not impress. There's a silent pressure most people carry when they speak. The pressure to sound good, look smart, be liked. It creeps in before we say a word. How can I impress them? What if I mess up? Will they think I'm confident, intelligent, interesting? This pressure shapes our tone, our body, even our choice of words. And yet, in trying so hard to impress, we lose the one thing that makes us magnetic, our true self. The goal of authentic communication is not to impress people. It's to express truth. To speak not from a desire to be liked, but from a desire to be real. That's when your voice resonates. That's when people lean in. Not because you're trying to be someone, but because you're willing to be yourself. When you speak to impress, your focus is on you. You start performing. You calculate your impact. You measure every sentence. And in doing so, you leave connection behind. Because while people may admire performance, they connect to presence. But when you speak to express, the focus shifts. You stop thinking about how you look and start tuning into what you feel. You speak from emotion, experience, clarity. You express instead of prove. You share instead of perform. And that shift makes all the difference. Think about the conversations that changed your life. Were they perfectly structured? Or were they real, raw, honest? Chances are the person wasn't trying to impress you. They were simply sharing something they believed in. And it landed in your heart, not because it was polished, but because it was true. So how do you move from impressing to expressing? Start by checking your intention before you speak. Ask yourself, am I saying this to be liked or to be understood? Am I performing or connecting? That awareness can change your entire energy. Next, speak from your felt experience. Don't try to sound smart. Just be sincere. If you're unsure, say so. If you're excited, let it show. If you're hurt, don't mask it. Your emotions are not flaws. They are your power. Also, be okay with imperfection. Expressing doesn't require perfect grammar, perfect tone, or a rehearsed speech. It requires honesty. The more you allow yourself to be imperfect, the more human you become. And the more human you are, the more powerful your voice becomes. Finally, trust that being yourself is enough. You don't need to become someone else to be heard. You don't need to wear a mask to be respected. The most powerful voices in the world aren't always the loudest. They're the ones that speak with truth, not ego. You weren't born to perform. You were born to connect. In the next chapter, we'll explore a vital skill that transforms how people experience your presence: deep listening. Because sometimes, your greatest strength as a communicator isn't what you say, but how deeply you hear. Chapter 11. Deep Listening. The other half of communication. Most people think communication is about speaking well, but the most powerful communicators aren't just great talkers, they're master listeners. Because deep connection isn't built through speaking alone, it's built through presence, through the ability to fully listen, not just to words, but to what's beneath them. In a world that moves fast, where people talk over each other, scroll past emotions, and half listen while waiting to reply, true listening has become rare and deeply valuable. Listening is not passive. It's not just being quiet. It's an active, intentional practice. It's the willingness to give someone your full attention, not to respond, not to fix, but simply to understand. When you truly listen to someone, you're telling them, "You matter. I see you. I hear you." And in that moment, their guard drops. Their energy softens. They trust you, not because you said the right thing, but because you gave them space to be real. Deep listening is the other half of communication because it shapes how you speak. When you listen well, your words become more thoughtful, more responsive, more emotionally accurate. You stop speaking from assumption and start speaking from connection. So, how do you practice deep listening? First, be present. Put down your phone. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next. Stop waiting for your turn to talk. Just be with the person. Give them your full attention, eyes, body, energy. Second, listen for emotion, not just words. What are they really saying? What's underneath their tone, their pauses, their silence? Are they afraid? Are they excited? Are they hurting? When you listen beneath the surface, you hear what most people miss. Third, validate, don't fix. Most people don't need advice. They need to feel understood. Instead of jumping in with solutions, try saying, "That makes sense," or "That must be hard," or simply, "I get you." That kind of listening heals more than advice ever could. Fourth, ask deeper questions. Instead of changing the subject or responding with your own story, ask, "What happened next? How did that feel? What do you need right now?" These questions say, "I care." And caring is the foundation of every deep connection. Fifth, let silence speak. Silence isn't awkward. It's sacred. It gives people space to reflect, to breathe, to feel. Don't rush to fill every gap. Sometimes a quiet presence says more than 100 words. When you listen deeply, people will remember how you made them feel. Seen, safe, valued. And from that place, your voice will carry more weight, more respect, more influence. Because people will know you're not just speaking to be heard. You're speaking to connect. In the next chapter, we'll shift the spotlight back to you and explore how to own any room as your true self without pretending, shrinking, or seeking approval. Because your presence matters everywhere you go. Chapter 12. How to own any room as your true self. Owning a room isn't about being the loudest voice. It's not about dominating conversations, demanding attention, or performing perfection. Owning a room means showing up fully as yourself, without shrinking, without pretending, and without seeking permission. It's about being grounded in your truth, regardless of who's watching. Many people think they need to become someone else to make an impact in a room. A bolder version, a more confident version, a louder version. But true presence doesn't come from being more. It comes from being real. So what does it mean to walk into any room and own it? Not from ego, but from authenticity. It starts with inner alignment. When your words, energy, and body are all in sync, people feel it. They may not know why, but they sense something different. They sense truth. And truth is magnetic. You don't need to wear a mask to belong. You belong because you bring your whole self, your voice, your vulnerability, your power. Owning a room is about being at home within yourself, no matter where you are. Here's how to do it. Step 1. Know what you stand for. When you're clear on your values and your voice, you stop second-guessing. You speak from your center. That clarity anchors you in any room, whether you're speaking to one person or 1,000. Step 2. Breathe before you speak. Confidence lives in stillness. Take a moment to ground yourself. A deep breath says, "I am here. I'm not rushing. I trust myself." It calms your nervous system and invites others to calm theirs. Step 3. Occupy space with intention. Don't shrink. Don't apologize for existing. Stand tall. Make eye contact. Let your energy expand gently. When you take up space with calm confidence, people notice, not because you're loud, but because you're present. Step 4. Speak with emotion, not performance. Whether you're sharing an idea, telling a story, or simply saying hello, let your emotion lead. People won't remember every word, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Step 5. Let go of trying to be impressive. You don't need to dazzle people. You need to connect. And connection only happens when you're not trying to manipulate how you're perceived. When you drop the image and show the real you, people relax. And that's when you truly own the room. Step 6. Be okay with discomfort. Not every moment will feel easy. Not every person will respond how you want. That's okay. Stay grounded, stay open. You don't need external approval to validate your presence. Your power doesn't come from them. It comes from within. Step 7. Trust your energy. You don't always need to say something. Sometimes your silence, your eye contact, your stillness, that's your voice. When you trust the space you're in, the space begins to trust you. Here's what most people get wrong. They think owning a room is about controlling it. But it's not. It's about influencing the space by being fully yourself, relaxed, real, and rooted. Your authentic presence is enough. You don't have to become anyone else. You don't have to memorize a script. You don't have to force connection. When you walk in with your truth, speak with your heart, and hold your space with grace, you've already owned the room. In the next chapter, we'll dive into one of the deepest emotional habits that silences your voice, approval seeking, and we'll learn how to let it go for good. Chapter 13. Letting go of approval seeking. If your voice feels small, if you hesitate before every sentence, if you overthink every message, every word, every gesture, chances are you're chasing something without realizing it. Approval. Approval seeking is one of the most subtle yet powerful forms of self-abandonment. It looks like being agreeable when you're actually uncomfortable. It sounds like laughing at something you don't find funny. It feels like hiding your truth just to avoid disapproval. And here's the hard truth. The more you seek approval, the more you lose connection with yourself and with others. You weren't born seeking approval. As a child, you spoke freely. You didn't filter your words or rehearse your feelings. But somewhere along the way, you learned a dangerous lesson: that love, acceptance, and safety were conditional. That if you said the wrong thing or expressed too much, people might leave, criticize, or withdraw. So you began to perform, to shape yourself into what others wanted, to become likable at the cost of being real. And this habit, this hunger for validation, became your silent prison. But here's what most people miss. Approval is a moving target. You can say all the right things and still be judged. You can shapeshift for every room and still feel unseen. Because no amount of outside approval will ever satisfy the part of you that doesn't approve of yourself. Freedom begins when you stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Do I like me right now?" That one shift can change your life. So, how do you stop seeking approval? Step 1. Recognize the pattern. Start noticing when your voice changes to fit in, when you withhold an opinion, when you say yes while your body screams no. Awareness is the first form of freedom. Step 2. Validate yourself. Don't wait for someone to say, "That was good," or "You're allowed." Start saying it to yourself. "That was honest. That took courage. I'm proud I spoke up." Give yourself the validation you keep chasing from others. Step 3. Let discomfort be okay. Speaking your truth may ruffle feathers. That's okay. Not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone needs to. Your job is not to manage their reaction. It's to stay aligned with your own. Step 4. Practice micro acts of authenticity. Say what you really think in a low-stakes situation. Set a boundary. Share a vulnerable story. Every time you choose truth over approval, your voice grows stronger. Step 5. Redefine success. Stop measuring your communication by how many people clapped, nodded, or smiled. Start measuring it by one thing. Was I real? Here's what's beautiful. When you stop chasing approval, your energy changes. People begin to feel safe around you, not because you're performing for them, but because you're free from needing them. That kind of presence is rare and magnetic. Approval doesn't lead to connection. Authenticity does. And your voice was never meant to be shaped by the crowd. It was meant to be anchored in truth. In the next chapter, we'll explore something many people avoid but deeply need: healing your voice wounds, because your silence has a history. And if you want to speak with power, you must understand the pain that once made you quiet. Chapter 14. Healing Past Voice Wounds. Before you found your voice, you lost it. Not once, but many times. Every time someone interrupted you, ignored you, mocked you, or made you feel small for speaking your truth, a wound was created. And if you never healed those moments, they didn't just become memories, they became barriers. Your voice wound isn't just emotional, it's physical. It lives in your throat when it tightens. It lives in your chest when it closes. It lives in your stomach when your confidence sinks the moment you try to speak up. So many people struggle to express themselves today, not because they lack vocabulary or talent, but because they carry unhealed silence from their past. Maybe a teacher humiliated you. Maybe a parent told you to shut up. Maybe you were laughed at when you tried to sing, stuttered when you got nervous, or poured your heart out only to be met with coldness. Those moments taught your nervous system one thing: it's not safe to speak, and your body remembers. That's why your throat closes before you say something vulnerable, why your heart races before public speaking, why you retreat even when you want to roar. But here's the truth: you don't have to live trapped in the past. You can heal your voice wounds. You can take your voice back. Here's how. Step 1. Acknowledge the pain. Stop pretending you should be over it. That moment from school, that conversation with your parent, that rejection, it mattered. Your silence has a story. Let yourself feel what you couldn't feel back then. Step 2. Rewrite the belief. Old pain creates old beliefs, like, my voice doesn't matter, or speaking gets me hurt. But those beliefs aren't facts. You get to choose new ones. Say them aloud. It's safe for me to speak now. My voice is worthy of being heard. The past doesn't own my present. Step 3. Speak to your younger self. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you who was silenced. Say to them, I see you. I hear you. What happened wasn't your fault. But now I'm here, and I will speak for us both. This internal reconnection is powerful. It reclaims the parts of you that were once shut down. Step 4. Express the trapped voice. Write, sing, cry, speak aloud, even if no one is listening. Let out the words you never got to say, the emotions you never got to express. It's not about being eloquent, it's about being honest. Step 5. Create new voice memories. Every time you speak authentically, even if it's just to one person, you're building a new memory. A safe one, a strong one. One that says, this time I wasn't silenced. This time I stayed true. Healing your voice isn't about erasing the pain. It's about honoring it, then choosing to rise above it. Your voice wound was real, but so is your healing. And the world needs the version of you that's no longer afraid to speak. In the next chapter, we'll build on this liberation and explore the practical rituals, habits, and daily practices that help you strengthen your authentic voice day by day. Chapter 15. Daily practices to strengthen your voice. Finding your voice is not a one-time event. It's a daily commitment. A journey of reclaiming, refining, and reinforcing your truth. Just like a muscle, your authentic voice grows stronger with consistent, intentional practice. Every day you're either feeding fear or feeding freedom. Your habits decide which one wins. So how do you build a voice that's bold, clear, and grounded in authenticity? no matter where you are or who you're speaking to. Here are the daily practices that can transform how you communicate and connect. 1. Morning truth activation. Start each day by speaking aloud to yourself. No script, no filter. Just let your voice move. Say what you feel, what you believe, what you're grateful for, what scares you. This practice removes hesitation and reconnects you with your inner truth. Even 5 minutes a day builds vocal courage. Example: I feel nervous today, but I'm still showing up. I want to express more of who I am. I'm safe to speak freely. 2. Breath-voice alignment. Take 3 deep belly breaths before any meaningful conversation. Feel your breath anchor you. Then speak slowly, deliberately. Breath is the fuel of your voice. When you control your breathing, you control your tone, your energy, your presence. Try this. Inhale deeply. Hold. Exhale slowly. Then say aloud, "My voice is strong. My voice is safe." 3. Truth journal. Each evening, write down 3 moments from your day. One time you spoke your truth, one time you held back, one thing you wish you had said. No judgment, just awareness. This practice creates clarity and emotional accountability. You'll begin to notice your patterns and break them. 4. Mirror expression practice. Stand in front of a mirror, look into your eyes, and speak to yourself as if you were your own best friend. Encourage yourself. Say the things you need to hear. Affirm your worth, your voice, your value. Example: you are allowed to speak. You are allowed to feel. Your voice matters. 5. Vocal stretching. Warm up your voice like a singer or actor. Humming, tongue twisters, pitch variation. These vocal exercises help release tension and expand vocal range. The more relaxed and expressive your voice becomes, the more confidently it flows. Try red leather, yellow leather, or unique New York. Slowly, then faster to build articulation. 6. Conscious conversations. Choose one conversation each day to be fully present. No phones, no multitasking. Just deep listening, open responses, and honest presence. The more you practice conscious communication, the more natural authenticity becomes. 7. Truth in micro moments. Practice expressing your truth in small, everyday ways. Say no when you mean no. Ask a genuine question you're curious about. Give a compliment you really feel. Speak up even if your voice trembles. Small moments build big strength. 8. Audio reflection. Record a short voice memo daily. Talk about how you feel, what you're learning, or what you want to express. Then listen back, not to judge, but to witness yourself. Over time, you'll hear your growth. You'll hear your voice transform. 9. Silence as power. Take 5 minutes of intentional silence every day. No talking, no music, just breathing and presence. This resets your nervous system and reconnects you to your inner voice, the one beyond noise, beyond expectation. 10. Speak with intention mantra. Before any conversation, presentation, or video call, silently say this: I don't need to perform. I just need to be present. I speak to connect, not to impress. That one mantra can transform your energy. Your authentic voice doesn't live in grand speeches. It lives in your daily choices. To speak your truth when it's easier to stay silent. To honor your feelings when it's tempting to suppress them. To show up again and again, even when doubt whispers. With daily practice, your voice stops being something you search for. It becomes something you embody. And in the next chapter, we'll look at how to turn your authentic voice into a superpower in relationships so you can connect deeply, set clear boundaries, and be fully seen in your most personal spaces. Chapter 16. Using your authentic voice in relationships. Your voice doesn't just shape how you speak in public. It defines how you show up in your most intimate spaces. Relationships. Whether it's with a partner, friend, parent, colleague, or even your child, the way you communicate determines the depth of connection, the strength of boundaries, and the level of trust you both feel. But for many, relationships are where their voice fades the most. Why? Because relationships come with emotional risk. The fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or abandoned often leads people to stay silent, please, or pretend. But when you lose your voice in a relationship, you lose yourself, and the connection becomes based on performance, not presence. Your authentic voice is the key to building relationships that are real, respectful, and emotionally safe. Let's explore how. 1. Speak your needs clearly. You are not too much for asking. You are not selfish for expressing. Saying, "This matters to me," or "I feel hurt when," is not weakness. It's emotional maturity. Instead of hinting or hoping someone will read your mind, communicate directly. People can't meet your needs if they don't know them. Try this. "I need more space to recharge." "I feel closest to you when you really listen." "Need clarity when we're making decisions together." 2. Set boundaries with compassion. Your voice protects your peace. Boundaries are not walls. They're bridges to deeper respect. But they must be spoken. Silently suffering leads to resentment. Clearly expressing limits leads to understanding. Say, "I'm not available to talk about that right now. I love you, and I need some quiet time tonight. I don't feel comfortable being spoken to that way." 3. Speak even when it's hard. Authenticity requires courage. You might fear their reaction, but silence only delays the conflict and deepens the pain. Speak your truth with calmness, not defensiveness. With love, not fear. You're not responsible for their feelings. You're responsible for your truth. 4. Practice I statements. Replace blame with ownership. Instead of "you never listen," try "I feel unheard when I share something," and it's dismissed. This softens the delivery and increases the chance they'll listen, not defend. 5. Let people see you fully. Drop the mask. Let them see your flaws, your dreams, your worries. Vulnerability invites intimacy. The more real you are, the safer others feel to be real too. Ask yourself, am I letting this person know the real me, or just the version I think they'll like? 6. Listen with your whole body. Authentic voice isn't just about expression, it's about reception. In deep relationships, listen without interrupting, defending, or fixing. Just be there. Your listening is a form of love. 7. Know when to walk away. Sometimes, using your voice means leaving. If a relationship consistently dishonors your boundaries, silences your truth, or makes you feel unsafe, your voice must choose you. Speaking your truth doesn't always lead to harmony, but it always leads to clarity. Authentic communication in relationships is not always easy, but it's worth it, because only when your voice is free can your love be real. Let go of pleasing. Let go of pretending. Let go of swallowing your truth just to keep the peace. Speak up, even if your voice shakes. Be seen, even if it feels vulnerable. Love out loud, even if it feels risky. Because anything less than that isn't intimacy, it's performance. In the final chapter, we'll bring it all together with a powerful message on how to live as your authentic voice, not just in what you say, but in who you are. Final chapter. Living as your authentic voice. Your voice is more than the sound that leaves your lips. It's your energy, your truth, your presence. It's the way you walk into a room, the way you express emotion, the way you stand for your values, whether or not anyone claps. To live as your authentic voice means one thing. You no longer edit your soul to fit the world. You no longer shrink to be liked. You no longer silence yourself to keep the peace. You speak because your voice is a part of your aliveness. You express because your truth deserves air. You've spent enough of your life performing, enough of your life people-pleasing, second-guessing, suppressing your instincts. You're not here to be a mirror of others. You're here to be a light. A bold, real, imperfect, beautiful light. So what does it really mean to live as your voice? It means trusting yourself daily, even when it's uncomfortable, even when your voice shakes, even when no one agrees. You say, "This is my truth. This is what I feel. This is who I am." Not because it's easy, but because it's freeing. It means choosing connection over performance. You stop trying to impress. You stop chasing applause. You stop filtering every sentence to sound good. Instead, you speak to connect, to relate, to be real. Because you've learned, perfection doesn't connect people, truth does. It means setting boundaries. You no longer let people walk through you just to keep them close. You say no with grace. You say yes with clarity. You protect your space like it's sacred, because it is. It means standing for something. You have values. You have principles. You have a message. Living as your voice means using that message, not to dominate, but to elevate. You inspire by being honest. You lead by being human. It means showing up again and again, even after rejection, even after silence, even after doubt. You keep showing up because your voice isn't about outcome. It's about ownership. You no longer ask the world for permission. You give it to yourself. Your authentic voice will not always be the loudest, but it will always be the clearest. It may not be understood by everyone, but it will always resonate with those who matter. It won't win every room, but it will win your peace. So speak. Tell your story. Ask the question. Say the thing. Let your truth echo in every space you enter. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you remembered who you are. And from this day forward, may your voice never again be caged. Not by fear, not by judgment, not by your past. You are free. You are worthy. You are powerful. You are your voice. Now go live it, fully, unapologetically, out loud.